This presentation deals with the regulatory requirements for the non-commercial operators of complex motor-powered aircraft, or NCC operators. And in particular, we'll look at the applicability of the rules, that is, which operations fall within the scope of these regulations. Regulations for aviation in Europe are established by the Basic Regulation, that is Regulation EC number 216/2008. The implementing rules for air operations are in Regulation 965 of 2012, known as the Air Operations Regulation. Article 4 of the Basic Regulation establishes which operations fall within the scope of these rules, and there are two criteria. The first is where the aircraft is registered, and the second is the identity of the operator. So first of all, the regulations are applicable to aircraft that are registered in the member states, so that is the 28 member states of the European Union, plus Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway and Switzerland. An aircraft operator can be either a natural person, i.e. an individual, or a legal person, such as a company or an organisation. So in the case where an aircraft is not registered in one of the member states, the regulation is still applicable to aircraft that are operated by a person resident in the member states, or if the aircraft is operated by a company established in the member states. In August 2016, these regulations become applicable to non-commercial operators, and that's because of Article 5.3 of the Air Operations Regulation. Article 5.3 says non-commercial operations of complex motor-powered aircraft shall operate in accordance with the provisions specified in Annex 3 and Annex 6. Now, to understand what that means, we need to look at some definitions. So first of all, what do we mean by non-commercial operations? Well, the basic regulation has a definition of commercial operation. A commercial operation is any operation of an aircraft in return for remuneration or other valuable consideration which is available to the public, as would be the case for the airlines, or, when not made available to the public, which is performed under a contract between an operator and a customer, where the latter, the customer, has no control over the operator. So this would be the case for charter operations, such as charter of a private jet. So that's the definition of a commercial operation. So by implication, a non-commercial operation is one where there is no remuneration or other valuable consideration for the operation of the aircraft, perhaps because you operate your own aircraft, or where there is remuneration, but where the customer has control over the operator. And this could be the case for a corporate aircraft, where the corporate flight department is part of the larger corporation which controls the flight department. The second definition we need then is complex motor-powered aircraft. Now, a complex motor-powered aircraft can be an aeroplane, a helicopter, or a tilt-rotor aircraft. In the case of aeroplanes, a complex motor-powered aircraft is one which has a maximum certificated takeoff mass exceeding 5,700 kilos, or one that's certified for a maximum operational passenger seating configuration of more than 19, or certificated for operation with a minimum crew of at least 2 pilots, or an aircraft equipped with a turbojet engine or more than one turboprop engine. Now, we have been told that turboprop aeroplanes under 5,700 kilos maximum takeoff mass will be removed from the definition, even if they are multi-engine types. In the case of helicopters, then, a complex motor-powered aircraft is one that's certificated for a maximum takeoff mass exceeding 3,175 kilos, or for a maximum passenger seating configuration of more than 9, or for operation with a minimum crew of at least 2 pilots. And lastly, all tilt-rotor aircraft are considered as complex motor-powered aircraft. So, aircraft registered in member states, or operated by a member state resident, or operated by a company established in the member states, non-commercial operation of complex motor-powered aircraft need to operate in accordance with the provisions specified in Annex 3 and Annex 6. So what is this Annex 3 and Annex 6? Well, the Air Operations Regulation is made up of a number of articles and then 8 annexes known as parts. So Annex 3 is the organisation requirements and it's known as Part ORO. And Annex 6 is the operating rules for non-commercial operations of complex motor-powered aircraft known as Part-NCC. So these are the 2 applicable parts of the regulation. We look inside Part ORO, then we see it's made up of a number of subparts. Not all of these are relevant to non-commercial operations, but most are. So first of all, we have subpart Gen. That contains the general requirements, especially the management system rules. We have subpart DEC, which has the requirements for the declaration that needs to be made to the competent authority. Subpart MLR explains the requirements for manuals, logs and records, such as operations manuals, minimum equipment list, tech log and so on. Subpart SEC deals with flight deck security. Subpart FC has the rules for flight crew and for the training of flight crew. And then subpart CC has the rules for cabin crew and the training of cabin crew where they're required. Subpart FTL will contain the rules for flight time limitations, but at the moment European rules haven't been established, so FTL schemes for non-commercial operators are still subject to national laws within Europe. Part-NCC is also made up of a number of subparts, but these are all applicable to non-commercial operations. So first of all, we have subpart Gen, which details things like crew responsibilities. Subpart Op contains operational procedures. Subpart POL contains the aircraft performance and operating limits. And subpart IDE contains the requirements for instruments, data and equipment that need to be satisfied by the aircraft. Now, one of the requirements in Part ORO is this requirement to make a declaration. So that says the operator of a complex motor-powered aircraft engaged in non-commercial operations shall provide the competent authority with all relevant information prior to commencing operations. So there's no requirement to get an approval from your competent authority, but there is a requirement to notify the competent authority. So who is the competent authority? Well, fortunately, Part ORO tells us that as well, and that says that the competent authority exercising oversight over operators subject to a declaration obligation shall be, for operators having their principal place of business in a member state, the authority designated by that member state. So the competent authority depends on the principal place of business of the operator. So we need some more definitions. Now, the definitions for terms used in the annexes are all contained in Annex 1. Annex 1 defines the principal place of business. So the principal place of business means the head office or registered office of the organisation within which the principal financial functions and operational control of the activities referred to in the regulation are exercised. Now, there's some further guidance for non-commercial operations, and that says for non-commercial operations, this is usually the home base of the aircraft concerned or the location of the flight department. But you need to bear in mind that that last part is only guidance. It doesn't form part of the regulation. So having established who is the competent authority, there are now some requirements for the competent authority, and they're detailed in Annex 2, the authority requirements for Part ARO. The competent authority has an obligation to conduct oversight. The regulations say the competent authority shall verify continued compliance with the applicable requirements of organisations from whom it has received a declaration. So the competent authority needs to conduct some inspections and some audits in order to verify that operators are complying with the rules. There's one more part of the Air Operations Regulation that will be important for many non-commercial operators, and that's Annex 5, Part SPA. This details the particular specific approvals that might be required for different types of operation. Part SPA is made up of a number of subparts. Not all of these will be relevant to non-commercial operations. The ones that are these. So subpart Gen. Subpart Gen just gives us general requirements such as how to apply for a specific approval. Subpart PBN deals with performance-based navigation. So these are particular approvals that might be required for operation in certain airspace or for particular types of operations such as PRNAV's arrival and departures or RMPAR approach operations. Subpart MNPS details minimum navigation performance specifications for operation on the North Atlantic. Subpart RVSM deals with the rules for reduced vertical separation minima. So this is all airspace above flight level 290. So subpart RVSM will be important for most jet operators. Subpart LVO deals with approvals for low visibility operations. So if an operator needs approval to take off in RVRs of less than 400 meters, or if the operator wants to conduct Category 2 or Category 3 approach operations, or make use of enhanced visual systems, then it'll need an approval under Subpart LVO. And lastly, Subpart DG. This deals with approvals to carry dangerous goods. Non-commercial operators that want to carry dangerous goods need to meet the same requirements as commercial operators, and these are detailed in Subpart DG. So in summary then, non-commercial operation of complex motor-powered aircraft that are registered in the member states or where the operator is a resident or established in the member states need to comply with the organisation requirements in Part ORO and the operating rules in Part-NCC, and they need to make a declaration to the competent authority. So now you've got an understanding of who the rules are applicable to. Look out for my other presentations explaining the organisation requirements and the operating rules for NCC operators. Or for more information, go to our website at mckeckneyaviation.eu.